Good afternoon, everybody. How's everyone doing? And welcome back to our daily geometry videos. Today we're going to be looking at, once again, special right triangles with the 30, 60, 90 triangle. Now for a 30, 60, 90 triangle, it'll always be this scenario where you have a angle of 30, 60, and 90. Now for these type of triangles, you only need to know two sides, okay? Two angles, because if you know two angles, the other one has to follow suit. So whether it's 60-90, the other side has to be 30. If it's 30-90, the other side has to be 60. Or if it's 30-60, the last side has to be 90. You only need to know two of those angles in order for it to work out. So for this triangle, okay, we're going to talk about the sides now. What are these sides available to us? And it comes off a formula. So we're going to talk about the short leg. So the short leg for us is always going to be a cross. It's going to be a cross from the 30 degrees. So 30 degrees is always going to follow suit with that short angle or a short leg, okay? So we're going to say across from 30 degrees, okay? And that's always just going to be a simple x. So whatever x is, that's going to be for the short leg, okay? Now, for the long leg, it's always going to be across from 60 degrees, okay? So from right here, it's always going to be across from 60 degrees. So we're going to say across from 60 degrees, okay? And that's always going to have is always going to be x square roots of 3, okay? So now we know two of the sides. And for the final side, okay, you kind of guessed it. If you kind of go from these, it's always the hypotenuse is always going to be across from 90 degrees, just like normal, okay? And it's actually going to be based off this x value as well. It's going to be 2x. So whatever x is, just multiply by 2. Okay? So fill in the rest of our table. So long leg is x square roots of 3. Hypotenuse is 2x. So as you can tell, what you're looking for in all these things is x. Once you solve for x, you know the answer to all the questions. Okay? So that's what we're going to try to identify in these functions, right? Or in these problems. So the first we're going to look at is this right triangle right here. We have two angles, 60, 90. So that means that this opposite side has to be then 30. Okay? So we know from our rule, the short leg is always going to be across from 30 degrees. So across from 30 degrees is my short leg, so it has to be x. So we're going to say 6 is then equal to x. Okay? Then we know across our long leg is across from 60 degrees. So that means a has to equal x square roots of 3. Okay? And then we leaves with our hypotenuse, which is across from 90. So that has to equal 2x. And for us, this is pretty simple now. I just plug in x into both of these equations, okay? So for a, it's x squared to 3. And we know x is equal to 6. So we get a equal to 6 square roots of 3, okay? For b, we know b is equal to 2x. So I plug that in. 2 times x, so 2 times 6. So say b is equal to 2 times 6, which is equal to 12. Okay, so we're going to have b is equal to 12. And that's it. Okay, pretty self-explanatory, pretty simple. So let's go on to the second problem we're going to look at today. We have a right triangle again. It looks a little wonky, but it's still a right triangle, okay? And we have two angles, 30 and 60. That means this opposite side over here has to be, opposite angle has to be 60 degrees, okay? And now we can come up, we can identify all our things. I would recommend you always identify x square roots of 3, x square roots of 3, and 2x because it simplifies your problem. Once you know what x is, you can pretty much solve for anything. Okay, so across from my 30 degrees is always going to be my x. So 8 is equal to x. Across from my 60 degrees is always going to be x square roots of 3. So a is equal to x square roots of 3. And b, once again, is always going to be my hypotenuse in this instance because it's across from 90, so that's equal to 2x. So once again, I can just plug in those values. So a is going to be x squared roots of 3. So we have a is equal to 8 square roots of 3. Okay. Then b is equal to 2 times 8, which is 16. We solve for that one. Okay. Now we're going to look at the third problem. Okay. We have legs of A and B and a hypotenuse of 4. So once again, the same scenario. We need to identify all our sides and we need to identify all our variables. So missing, we have a 30 and a 60 angle, or sorry, 30 and a 90 angle. So the following angle has to be 60 degrees. Okay. So now we're gonna identify all what A and B have to equal for us. So A is across from my 30 degrees, so it has to equal X. B is across from my 60 degrees, so it has to equal X square roots of 3. And since 4 is across from my 90 degrees, it has to equal 2X. So in order for me to solve any of these problems, I need to solve for X. So luckily for us, we can use the hypotenuse formula to solve for X, because we just have one variable there. Okay, so 4 is equal to 2X. We want to solve for X, so we divide by 2. And we're left with X is equal to 2. And as we know, A is equal to X, so we have A is equal to 2. A is equal to 2. And then we have B, and B is just going to equal 2 square roots of 3. Okay? So once again, once you solve for X, you have the answer. You have pretty much everything you want. Okay? So let's look at the last problem, last scenario we're going to look at today. And it's this special right triangle of 30 and 90. Okay, with a leg of 3 square roots of 3. So we're looking for the for a leg and a hypotenuse. So let's establish what we're kind of missing in this one. So since we have 30, 60, our missing angle, or sorry, 30 and 90, our missing angle is going to be 60. Okay, and we're going to go over what our variables or what's across from each other so we can identify where our variables go. For 30, we always know that across from 30 has to equal X. So we already know A is equal to X. Okay, across from 60 will always equal X square roots of 3. And then for B, it's always, or for our hypotenuse, it's always across from 90. So that's always equal to 2X. Okay. Now this one we already can see what our X should be, because while we don't get X from A or from B, we get it from this equation right here. We're able to set up 3 square roots of 3 is equal to X square roots of 3. Well, what's missing this scenario? I have square roots of 3, right? Well, if I divide by those, they cancel out, and we're left with X is equal to 3. So we have our X. So we can now establish that A is equal to 3. And then for B, we just plug it in. Okay, B is equal to 2 times 3, which is 6. So B is equal to 6. Okay, that is it for today's lesson. If you're having trouble, I'm going to set up times tomorrow to meet with everybody on a Google Meet or a Zoom. It just kind of depends. We'll take it from there. I'll send out the invites today, sometime later today. Just be looking for those. But guys, don't be afraid to ask questions. I'm always here. My everything's always up and going just for y'all. Okay, I know how tough this is to kind of learn math at home. It's not an easy task. That's why I'm trying to give y'all everything. I'm trying to make everything pretty simple. I'm not trying to trick you with anything like that. And I just want you to ask questions. Okay, the more questions you ask, the better I can help you. Okay, that's the entire thing right now. We just got to make the best of this situation. Okay. Have a good day, and I hope you're enjoying this time for the best you can. Okay, peace.